On this program, of course. Is any support given to the family, that's like spouse and children, of ranks who are sent to work in interior locations?
Well, generally, Stan, to respond to that question, I must inform our listeners, viewers, online viewers, that every officer is considered a welfare officer. And so support is given and will be given in cases whereby it's either identified by the officer there under their in whose command they're under, or the divisional commander. As long as those issues are identified, or the rank may reach out to their commanders or the officer in charge, yes, support is given, whether financial or otherwise, Additionally, support is given in the sense that mechanism and system are put in place for those ranks to have constant contact with their family members who may be in Georgetown. So yes, support is given. They're not left alone. We try to do our best, of course, with the limited resources that we have. We do our best, even if it's not financial, it may be in the form of a hamper to give to the family outside. If the commander, by chance, is not able to assist the rank, then recommendations could be made to my department, and I will forward it to admin, who will then make a decision on how possible we can assist that rank.
All right, so they definitely get some sort of support,
Yes,
especially the family
yes,
who might be, and it works vice versa. If it is
definitely,
that, let's say, a person is coming all the way from the originally from the Rupununi, but then they have to be working somewhere
definitely.
in Berbice and that kind of
Yes,
thing. All
the
right,
same thing applies.
all right. 21 hours, 13 and a half is the time. This is Police and You. Remember, we are streaming live on the Ghana Police Force's Facebook page and our Instagram, our YouTube page at Ghana Police Force. So you can actually follow the conversation right there if it is that you've got and share the link also with family and friends, and let them know that we have got welfare on the air. Now, if we to get into some of the nitty gritties, I remember just before I go to this other one, but I do remember at one training session, one of the things that seemed to be in the mind of a lot of ranks is if it is that they've been working in the police force for a while, um, but they feel that they would like to be able to get certain benefits, um, but they don't know. And one of the things I heard you mention at that time, Ms. Sullivan, is that many of them don't read some of the standing orders that tells them about what their rights, benefits, and privileges are. And you had to highlight some of that, um, to be able to let them know that there are things that they can actually tap into. There are situations that they could actually benefit from. For example, being able to acquire, it's one of the major things of many persons, eventually acquiring a piece of land and owning their own home, but they're saying, my money is too small, I can't do it. So they don't come to the necessary resource groups. What would you say to them?
So let me begin with the issue of housing. Now, the police force is spearheading, that's through the police association, as I can tell you. We're spearheading now where the police association, of course, the rank must apply through the Ministry of Housing, and that letter is taken to police association, and the members there, they would have a list and they would submit a list to Ministry of Housing, and you would know that there's a lot of systems and linkage being made with banks and other institutions to provide loans and so forth. So far, I can tell you that over for the year, almost 80 police ranks would have already benefited from whether it's a house lot or a home where they pay on a monthly basis. The finances in terms of the Port Guyana Police Force is available. We have the credit union there that would assist ranks from time to time, of course, at their request. And at this point, I would encourage all ranks because their ranks still not joining up on things like the police credit union, the insurance scheme, because they're still not aware and au fait with the benefits that they can really tap into through these organizations, right? So, in terms of housing, yes, it's there. Some additional benefits that police ranks can access through the Guyana Police Force or persons who might may be desirous of joining the organization. There is for the whether single parent or those persons that have children, we have the daycare center there right? We have the daycare center that provides services for our children when we're at work, whether it be daycare or night care. In the instances where when we may be in line, there is the daycare there. In addition to that, there is the loan system where you can access a soft loan quickly, whether it be for medical purposes or just to buy some groceries, because money is always something that is never too much. And so there is the loan system there to access that quickly through the welfare department. In addition to that, we have the bursary arrangement where yearly children of police ranks who would have acquired a certain amount of marks after writing the National Grade 6 assessment is awarded for their good work. And so, for 5 years after they would have graduated from primary school, they would be awarded a certain amount of money yearly until they would have completed. There are other scholarship programs through other organizations which we link on to from time to time that they would also benefit from. Apart from that, we have the benevolent benefits, which covers natural disasters, medical expenses in terms of when a rank may be injured on duty. We have, through the benevolent fund, we take care of our ranks. We wouldn't allow our ranks, knowing that our ranks were injured on duty, and not provide all that we can provide for them. Apart from that, there's a fire relief system where if you get a fire, whether your home was completely burned or partly, as long as the fire service would authenticate it, the rank would have access to some financial support. In addition to that, I speak very less of this, the dead benefits. It's not something that I would really want to give to any police rank, but it is there. When the police rank or a spouse, husband or wife die, they also have access to some amount of monies through the benevolent fund.
I'm looking at our live feed, and sorry, I'm looking at the live feed, and one of the things I'm seeing is that persons are actually asking questions, and they seem quite enthused. And you would have answered a couple that they were asking as if you already read them in that little presentation that you just had there, Ms. Sullivan. But one of the questions is if it is that, let's say, your department assists with welfare loans, if a rank borrows money
Yes.
and an odd emergency arises, is there a backup plan to assist that rank?
Yes, it is. And that is why an interview is done. I do the interview personally. And so I would be able to say whether what the person is saying is authentic, because there are some ranks that would come as soon as, they spend out that amount of money in the next week or before the month is out, they return. But as long as a situation arises, and those situations are serious, like medical expenses and so forth, then yes, there is a backup plan. And as I said, the credit union is also there, which would give you a more substantive amount of money to do, or to, do whatever is required to be done at the time. So yes.
So definitely, viewer, your question I certainly hope is it has been answered. Remember, you can give us a call on 2264762 if it is you've got a call, a question particularly relating to welfare internally of policemen and women, serving policemen and women. Next question I want to ask is, you did mention earlier that you look at the whole psychological aspect, not just the human aspect. But what provisions are there for policemen or women who may be or find themselves in an abusive relationship, and worse yet, that they want to get out of?
Stan, and I'm speaking on behalf of the entire police force. The Guyana Police Force, we would have adopted a zero tolerance approach to domestic violence. We would have seen what it can lead to over the years. And so we've adopted a position that the welfare department do not deal with domestic violence issues at office to come to a resolutionary way of sorting it out. Now, if a report is made at the welfare department, which was done on several occasions, I would refer the person to the officer in charge of the relevant station or the location for a report to be made, an investigation to be done with the intention of prosecution. And so the court can decide what is the way forward in those instances. So it's a zero tolerance approach to domestic violence.
Zero tolerance. Have you had situations where there are those who feel scared of reporting?
Yes, yes. A lot of persons not only scared of reporting, but of what might happen if they report it. Some people you would know don't want to be alone, or it might be a financial situation whereby most instances is a woman might not want to leave because she doesn't know any other way of providing, may have children, perhaps for herself, she may be unemployed, she may be employed. And so, yes, there are situations that people are afraid, but not afraid so much of the system and whether the system would take action, but of the extent in which the matter could go. Because a lot of women, even though they may report it, when it reaches to the level of the court, even the women turn back and might want to ask for leniency on the perpetrator. So, yes.
With that in mind, let me. So, what kind of consideration is given to ranks who are single parents, both men and women? Um, Obviously, a policeman or a policewoman, they work very hard, and they're away from home quite a lot. But you're a single parent, you've got young kids. What kind of considerations?
Okay. Stan, I must re emphasize that the benefits there that we provide in the force is generally for every rank. However, there's special situation in which I or any other commander, whether it be branch or division, would identify persons who need additional help, right? And so we would provide like hampers and so forth. But you know the old saying, it's better to teach a man to fish, which would last him a lifetime, or other than giving him a fish would last him one day. So what I would do is to encourage ranks to look for other avenues. You know, they have soft skills, other life skills that you can engage in to garner, to help, to assist you with little other monies to come together. Apart from that, there's a lot of other organizations out there that we would link them to or direct them to that they can get assistance from, basically.
Yeah, whilst that is that's so, in terms of you've got let's say a rank who lives on the east coast of Demerara, one of the villages on lower east coast, but they are stationed somewhere on the east bank, and they go to work. Uh, by the time they get home, it's nightfall. They've got young children. That's a single parent
Yeah.
uh, that they've got to take care of. That kind of consideration. Where are they getting the time to actually look into other things when their first and foremost priority is to their work as a policeman or a policewoman?
Well, in situations like those, so far there are a few ranks that would come reporting that they need to go closer to home and consideration. They basically don't come and report that, we need more money, I need help with my children. They come and they say, look, I think it's better, mom, I think it's better if I go closer to home. That way I will spend less because most of the times you find transportation is be a difficulty for a lot of ranks. And so consideration is given for them to get closer to home. However, it's still a work in progress because welfare is dynamic, right? As situations arise, we look to see how we can assist in whatever way. It's still a work in process, so it's not a closed door, it's not cast in stones what we do. So, as I said, if a rank, those who listening out there, if a rank is in need of assistance, whatever assistance is needed, consideration is given because I would personally deal with a matter by way of reporting further, whether it be the admin or commissioner of police of the situation, and commissioner would make the final decision or deputy commissioner administration. So representation is made for those ranks.
Representation is made
Yes,
for the ranks.
yes.
21 hours 28. This is Police and You coming to you live on the Voice of Ghana 102.5 FM. You can send your questions via WhatsApp to 6320147, or you can follow the conversation on our YouTube and our Facebook page where the stream is live. I believe before I go to our next question, we've got a caller coming through. I want to be able to take this call and see if it is that we could have that answered. Caller, good evening to you.
Good evening, sir. I will listen to the officers speaking about the different thing about the police. But so far I am concerned, the police, they are saying they are not adequately paid, and for that reason, you can't get the best out of the police. Not adequately paid because economic condition, right? And some don't really like the work. They only sit in the work because of, you know, to do something. And secondly, I would like to. Secondly, the thing that plague the police force a lot, right, is this what we call bribery and corruption. And as a result of those things, you can't get proper policing, and then they have to be satisfied with the work they do to get the best out of them. I would like to see a good police force in Guyana. When I said good police in thought, words, and deed, police do the duty, right? Now you call the station at many times. The police will tell you they don't come and don't come, right? Some make other funny excuse that we don't have transportation, and all these things they, will put up in front of you. So some of these things I would really like to see, you know, the police really get, you know, on their work.
Thanks a lot for coming through, caller.
Right.
How would you respond to that?
Well, I believe that the entire country is underpaid, not only the police. I believe that it's something that would have been raised from time to time, and however, I believe that the administration is still pushing for the police to be better paid, and we will continue to fight for us to be better paid.
All right, and to the other issue of having different reasons for them for persons joining the force, particularly bribery and so on. How would you say is this something your department will be tackling, or something that comes up?
Well, I believe that generally the force would look at it, and it has to do with basically the ranks in the Guyana police force, I must say this, are the product of society, right? Policing has to be something personal. We understand that we're being underpaid, but then it must be something that you have in you, that drive to serve and to protect. When you come, you're not coming to look for an extra, something. So it's very, very personal. And so it's an issue that always comes up, right? But it's something that we're working on, but individuals also must work on it in order to for us to change the way that people see police or how police come into the force, the reasons they come into the force for.
And of course, just want to note that one of the things that you would have done for welfare, if you want to elaborate on it, is that you got four big buses that are stationed at OTC to assist with transportation of ranks to and from their homes. Um, Tell us a little bit about that initiative.
Yes, Sam, definitely. So that initiative actually was birthed out of the last officers conference. Our honorable minister was there, Robeson Ben, and so after a few presentation, the officers there saw it fit to have buses to transport, which has been working good, great so far, to transport ranks to and from their place of work. So that initiative is a great one. I'm happy that it is working well and we intend to continue it.
And that helps to save some money in people's pocket, right?
Definitely,
Because you don't have to
definitely,
pay public transportation
definitely,
unless you want to sit down in the boom boom buses or wait for the special rides and that kind of thing.
definitely.
Get you. Woman Deputy Superintendent, let me turn now. A lot of women would have, coined some questions to us. So let me just ask you this: do you think that women police should be stationed in the interior locations, and why? That is particularly for those who are like yourself from the city, from the coastland.
Yes, Stan. I will say yes offhand. Now, for us to say or to begin with, men and women join the Guyana Police Force and we fight for equality, first of all. I believe in gender equity, whether man or woman. The fact that you're a police, then you have the same duties and responsibility. Now, to add to that, now the interior locations, we would have noticed there's a growing phenomena of foreign migrants coming through interior location. There is now instances, growing instances of human trafficking. Now, apart from that, we have female prisoners in all areas of the Guyana Police Force. Now, to alleviate the instances of allegations being made against our male counterparts, it is important for women police to be in all the areas in the Guyana Police Force, in all the interior locations, now more than before. However, this is not forced on the women. This is not, maybe the men are more prone to go to these areas, but this is not forced on the women. The women are asked, they're trained before they're sent into the interior. And at their request, they can return at any point in time, of course, with a suitable replacement. So, yes, it's important that we have women in the interior location to deal with women prisoners, especially those persons who are victims of sexual offenses, etc.
And what about the kind of conditions that you would have in place? As it's understood that men, we could camp out, we could rough it out, and that kind of thing. But in terms of what is in place for
What I
women,
can tell you is that the interior for the women in the interior location through the administration and the commanders, housing accommodation is provided for the women. It's always look into before we send women. Of course, we know that we're still battling with infrastructure and the limited resources. But some things are out of our hands, and so we have to wait until, certain things are allocated to us. But for now, what we have, we work with, even if it takes that you have to rent a house or whatever for those women to live in for the time.
So you do take care of that.
Yes, we do.
All right. And so you're out in that area. You're sticking with being in hinterland or out of your locale. You A person is in those areas, particularly women, um, and even men too. But what avenues are in place for those in those locations who are married and choose to start a family? As you are aware, we consider family is important, but that you move someone who is married and you put them so many miles away from their family. What avenues are in place to make sure that that
House,
doesn't crumble?
housing and accommodation is provided, especially when it comes to the females. But most time females don't really go in the interior because of access. Some for the men may have a family, they may have children, the wife or the spouse may be in Georgetown and they may be working. Now the question is, would you want to move your family from Georgetown to take them into the interior where there is a little more limited accessibility to whether it's school or work? So it all comes back to the accessibility, but yes, housing and accommodation is provided. As you would know, the Guyana Police Force has built or has constructed several houses around the length and breadth of the country for married men and women. And so, yes, accommodation is provided so they can relocate the entire family wherever they go.
And if a female police becomes pregnant in a job, what SOPs are in place to deal with her condition?
Okay. First, I want to make very clear, Stan, myself being a mother, um, as a policewoman, being pregnant and working as a policewoman, it's not a sickness. Over the years, people refer to pregnancy as though it's a sickness. Pregnancy is more a blessing than a condition that we may, because when you say condition, there's a stigma attached to it when you say condition. However, there are persons that I'm aware may have a more difficult time during pregnancy than others. There are systems put in place because if, for instance, you're on patrol duty or you're working on the anti-crime, you are taken, as long as you report your pregnancy, you're immediately taken off of that patrol and placed to work in the office. So there's more soft duty being done with these women. They're not placed on certain, well, during the time of pregnancy, let's say it might not be the whole 9 months that they may not have to work night shift, but at a certain point, whether it be 5 or 6 months, they're taken off a night shift, put on strictly day. In addition to that, after they would have given birth, there's some consideration given for them to, at least for breastfeeding purpose, that is, to be with their babies during the nights and work strictly day for at least a year. But this has to be enforced, obviously, by the commanders. But as long as it comes to my knowledge that those SOPs, we would call it, is being violated, then I would intervene so that some resolution, some ease can come to that pregnant woman.
Awesome. 21 hours 41. You're in tune with Police and You, and we've got uh, Woman Deputy Superintendent Jewel Sullivan, who is on tonight's program, the Welfare Officer of the Ghana Police Force, and we are discussing welfare issues in the Ghana Police Force as we turn our attention now to, evidently, you are aware that, as the saying goes, teeth and tongue must bite. Uh, you and I may not necessarily agree and see eye to eye, but we've got to work in the same space. And that kind of conflict can boil over and create problems. We've seen in the past, for example, in discipline services where persons would have injured other some of their colleagues and so on. So, what how do you mediate whatever conflicts they may be having in a tactful way to minimize or to mitigate any of those boiling over to those situations?
Stand first and foremost, I must say that the fact that the welfare officer is a police officer, then discipline in mediation is already established, whether it be between two police or civilian and a police. So, what happens? Of course, the law of natural justice, everybody has a right to a fair hearing. And so, mediation will not be done via telephone. Those persons, the parties involved, would be summoned to my office, whereby, we could be in a more conducive area to speak, for me to listen, actively listen, both with the ears and with the eyes, right? Because obviously some persons come with their own story to defend themselves. And so there are times I may have to do some further investigation. However, both parties or parties or whether two or three, how many persons, whoever involved in the situation, they're summoned to my office and they have they voice whatever concerns they have or whatever actually created the issue or how we reached the place that we're at. And after they would have voiced their concerns, right, of course, in a respectful manner, maintaining discipline, I'm there to listen. A lot of persons, when they come, they already have the solutions. They already know what is the solution to the problem. So it's basically for me to guide them now in a way to see, look, this is the best way out. And so mediating issues is not so difficult for me. As I said, the fact because most times I'm in uniform. So the authority is already there in, of course, a subtle way. So when everybody got the opportunity to speak, then the welfare officer would intervene. And then, we come to amicable resolution to the problem.
Want to take this other call that we've got before I continue with some of the questions I've got for you. Caller, very good evening to you.
Good night. You know, I can't come and do complain I know we tell the police, and when the police do come to us, he say he coming back, and he never ever come back. We keep calling the station, and them just ignoring we.
All right, I'll tell you what. Take this number, 666-9513. themselves with members of the public that they serve. 21 hours 47 here on the Police and You. Now, we are in a time known as lockdown, aka COVID times. And this is considered a very serious time. Now, what consideration is given to ranks who test positive for the COVID 19 virus?
The ranks who test positive for the COVID 19 virus basically stand the Guyana Police Force. We have we have through the regional welfare rep, obviously, because every division or regional division has a welfare representative. So we adopt the same regulation, guidelines as the Ministry of Health would have set out. And so if the rank is tested positive, first and foremost, after the rank would have been sent off, the welfare rep in the division would keep contact with the rank. Following up, of course, giving guidance whether they need to go to a testing site, providing whatever is necessary for them based on their request, obviously. Because a lot of ranks, when they go on isolation or quarantine, there's not much request being made as long as they're home. But we still follow up, and we ensure that they're provided with whatever assistance is needed at the time.
Okay, and anything that is put in place for any of your ranks who would have been affected or infected by the very same COVID?
As I said, the system that we would have put in place is to ensure that we constantly follow up with them. Obviously, we know that based on the guidelines and the rules of the set out by the Ministry of Health, it's not hard and fast that we necessarily look for sick leave to cover them. As soon as we recognize or observe a rank is showing signs and symptoms or was confirmed COVID positive, we ensure that they're sent off. We ensure that if whatever support is needed, whatever we need to take or send to the home or even get a family member to uplift to assist the rank, it is done. The welfare rep in the division, if it is beyond their control, make contact with me, make recommendation what is the way forward, how can we assist this rank. So they're not left alone, right? And all the other system that is in place for the ranks on a daily basis, whether it be to access the loan system or whatever else is needed, we ensure that they have access, even though they might be isolated or quarantined, they still have access to what is happening to what is there in the force.
And given that, and of course, you did mention that the Ghana Police Force is adhering to the COVID protocols and the posture as gazetted every month. One of the things that is happening right now is that there is more call for vaccination. We know across the country there's been lots of persons who have been resistant to that, including police officers. Uh, how are you working to be able to reduce this, and what would you say is your success rate in getting policemen and women vaccinated against COVID?
Okay, Stan, we have a proactive approach right now that we're employing to ensure every rank is vaccinated. Of course, this is a pandemic we're talking about, and the more ranks we get vaccinated, is better for all of us. And so, apart from having sensitization being done, we have doctors on call that would come on call to sensitize ranks in terms of the different vaccinations, and so they have options in which they can choose what they want to take. Apart from that, we don't always allow them to go to get vaccinated. What we do now is bring the vaccination site to police headquarters. And so for the persons that are probably not getting the opportunity to go and get vaccinated, with constant encouragement Of course, they go there, which is normally at the officer's mess annex. They go there, message is sent out, so you would always know when the COVID-19 vaccination team would be there. So the vaccination team comes, a doctor or two or three is there, and so persons could have individual discussion with those doctors in terms of the best way forward for them, because we are aware that some persons might have medical issues, health issues, that they're afraid to take the vaccine. And so the doctor is there to alleviate, to try, to show them a way out, to say, well, look, this wouldn't affect you in that way or this way, or this is the better one or that is the better one. But so far we've been doing well for the period that we have actively, proactively been pushing for all police ranks to be vaccinated. We have come a far way, and we're still pushing to ensure every rank is vaccinated.
All right. I want to turn our attention now to the other issue now, and that is psychologically. Again, we started to allude to that earlier in the program, but you've got ranks who find themselves in situations, particularly those who are dealing with going behind criminals and they shoot behind them or they shoot persons, they die, and at the end of the day, it's a life that was taken. And many of them, they are not necessarily, in the right place to continue working. Just recently, the Ghana Police Force would have been able to retain the services of a clinical psychologist. Um, Tell us about that kind of initiative and who in the Ghana Police Force should be able to benefit from the clinical services of the psychologist.
Generally stand every rank, because the Guyana Police Force is a high stress job. Whether you're running behind criminals or you're in an office, the fact that you're in the environment, certain things are transferred to you. Over a period of time, you need somebody. And when we talk about the psychological issues that a rank may face with, it might not be the trauma of a situation that they may have been involved in, whether it be shooting and killing, or, an accident or incident on duty or whatever. It may basically be that the rank may have some issues at home that would cause them not to be able to function properly at work. And so that has to do with the psychological effects of the issues that they're faced with. And so every rank should be able to access. Of course, we are still trying to bridge the gap whereby ranks can openly say, look, I have an issue, I have a difficulty. They can seek that help, because those assistance, those help are not forced on anyone. You cannot force persons to say, oh, I have a problem and I need psychological assistance. Yes, you sensitize them, you make them aware of what is a psychological issue that you may face from time to time, and so they can openly come out and say, face the reality that I'm affected by a situation, and so they can seek the help that they need. However, as long as a rank reaches out, especially to the wealth, whether it be to the commander in the division or the welfare department, we are we're champions to fight against psychological issues of our ranks, because everybody from time to time may be faced with, even if it's a little stress that may lead to depression. All of those things fall under psychological issues that may affect ranks. And so we champion psychological evaluation, even if it means that we have to direct them to an external organization. We link with the Ministry of Health, Mental Health Department, and all other, like the AA groups and other support groups, to assist ranks, to allow them to, feel a part, to still feel a part, so that they would say, I'm not alone. And so that, in a sense, would assist them to get better. They would want to get better. So yes, every police rank from one time or the other needs the psychological support.
But this sounds more like it's voluntary on the part of that rank to be able to access that service that you have. Correct?
Um,
And not
if
mandatory.
if the rank, let's say, was injured on duty, as you indicated, I can make recommendation for the rank to seek counseling or whatever assistance is needed. However, let's say the rank wasn't injured, it wasn't a situation, then until you come to me and you say, Miss Sullivan, look, this is what is going on with me, then I will not be aware. I would be aware if a rank was injured on duty, and I because we had many ranks that 10, 12 years after I had to intervene to send them to get counseling, to do a medical checkup. They may have a difficulty with something, some part of the body not functioning or whatever it is. And I would have to direct them to seek further medical attention or to get counseling. But what you find, what I can tell you, there is still a fight, a push for our men, our male counterpart, to come to the reality that, look, I need assistance, because a lot of men don't like to come out to say or to tell
And you
people
see,
I have a difficulty.
and this is one of the reasons why I raised it, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask again because if it to me if it is voluntary,
Yes.
then obviously people are not going to come forward like that. But you've got other police organizations around the world that make it mandatory at certain junctures in your
Definitely.
life, your police life or career, that you must have a psych evaluation. So you have to go to psych evaluation, and it
Definitely.
determines your ability to
To
continue on the
continue.
job.
Yes.
Uh, would you say or would you recommend that at some point in time that this is one of the things that the Ghana Police Force
Well, that
implements?
is the aim, and that was one of the recommendations that I would have made to the higher level. That we push to, of course, baby steps, step by step, and we're going to reach there. But that was one of the recommendations that I would have made, that on a yearly basis, medical checkup, then persons must be able, mandatory, to do a psychological evaluation to determine their fitness to continue working, whether they need to move from the area they're at and go to another area. So, we can come to different end results from doing the psychological evaluation, even if it's just to move the person from one environment and place them in another environment. Yes, that is one of the recommendation, and that is what I'm pushing for us to achieve, that on a yearly basis, every police rank is evaluated psychologically.
And you did mention that a lot more education has to be done, and there's partnering that is happening with other agencies and stakeholders. Because one of the things that you find happening is that when you speak about mental health in Guyana, one of the first things in Guyanese parlance is, oh, I's not no mad man, me no mad woman, that kind of thing. Hence, they're going to clam up and not want to reach out. But you don't have to be insane necessarily to actually seek psych evaluation and help. And the funny thing is that many, uh, especially in the public, who seek a license, a firearm license, they surrender or submit themselves to such. But when it comes to the daily work, they seem to have this big pushback on it. Tell us about why it's so important for them to like wipe that off out of their minds.
Well, Stan, what I can say, that in our Guyanese society, there is a stigma attached to mental health, first to begin with. There's a stigma attached in the sense that I don't believe fully that we've come to a place that we understand the effects of mental illness, and so we're still working to achieve that, to reach that place where every Guyanese would see someone, whether they're on the road behaving in a certain way, and not stigmatize them to say they're mad. One of the first thing that I would have done when I would have taken up office as the welfare office, I wanted to break down that wall. And so what used to happen times before, when a rank is considered, oh, he has mental problem, he or she send directly to Georgetown Hospital. And so you'll have the doctor, injections, and all manner of things happening with them because they're already considered mad, right? However, what I would do if I observe that a person may have a difficulty or may be suffering from depression or some situation that is causing them not to be themselves. I have a situation where as I said, we're linked with the Ministry of Health Mental Health Department, whereby we have counselors. After I would have done my interview, I direct them to counseling, whichever organization they have to be registered in. For instance, we had person that we had to register into the Alcohol Anonymous, all of these because some of the issues may stem from alcohol addiction. And so apart from looking at the mental health issue as we may call it, we look at the root cause. How did they reach this place? Apart from that, we had registered into the epileptic clinic because some people has medical issues which may affect them. They may take it on, they may stress over it, and they're not able to cope effectively with the life changes that they encounter after they would have gotten ill or whatever may have happened to them. And so we have counselors that we deal with. Apart from that, I'm working directly with the suicide helpline. They have counselors down there. So at any point in time, we could have counselors. We just don't send persons to the hospital for them to, get an injection with the injection, you know, to bring them to some level of calmness only. If we have to do the extreme situations to get them calm, we have to direct them to the hospital, and then afterwards we start enrolling them into these other services so that they could get the counseling and the help that they need. So I try to sensitize persons. Look, don't look at this mental health as a mad person. It might be that, oh, you got some financial issues, you come to work, you didn't get something to eat, and so it's stressing you out. It may lead to depression. So it's way deeper than the surface as we would look at it. But I can tell you, it's work, work, and more work. But we will get there. I'm optimistic that if we keep working to bring more awareness of health and what it entails, we will reach to that place. Because for me, from time to time, every one of us would have mental health difficulties, right? Whether it be we overwork and we need some leave, from time to time, every individual might be faced with that situation.
My final question to you before we go, we've just got about a minute and 10 seconds. How does your office treat with confidentiality, which is a major thing for most people in terms of not reaching out when they've got situations, whether it's mental health, whether it is that they need some support because things might be rough at home, and they figure that, man, if I only go here, the whole place gonna know my business, so they don't want to. How does your department treat with confidentiality?
Stan, I want to say that confidentiality is at the core of welfare. That is the core because when dealing with welfare, all kind of things come to you. All kind of issues, concern. You might be in the office just standing and somebody just walk in and start divulging sensitive information. So confidentiality is at my heart. The welfare department, probably times before, persons were a little reluctant to come to the welfare department, but I believe that we've broken down that wall. We've broken down that wall and we've come a far way. That persons are more free and more comfortable. You know, every day I can tell you, almost every day I have like 10 to 15 persons calling to ask to speak to the welfare officer because they are aware by now that the welfare officer is very confidential. And if I observe in my department there's a breach of confidentiality with any of my staff, then recommendations will be made for a replacement. So confidentiality, it's at the core of welfare. That's the only way people would want to come to you. So it's very important.
Definitely. On this note, we're going to have to put a wrap on it. I want to say thanks very much. It means that you will have to come back because we've got so much more questions for you. And I'm sure it's been a privilege and it's been an edifying time here on Police and You. That's Woman Deputy Superintendent Jewel Sullivan, our welfare officer at the Ghana Police Force. Once again, thanks for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Stan.
And of course, thanks to all those of you who are in tune and have been in tune. It's been another edition of the Police and You, produced by the Corporate Communications Unit of the Ghana Police Force. In studio with us, it's been Lance Corporal Brown, Constable Van Rossum, and Corporal Hussein from the unit. And we've been backed up by NCN's Campbell. I am Stan Gouveia saying thanks for joining us and do enjoy the rest of your night.